Welcome to Born to Be Wild. We are, of course, diving into Season 6, the quarterfinals, the first week of the playoffs in this here listener series, Season 6. I, of course, am joined by two of our fantastic casters, Schmoopy Daddy and Dr. BOMD. How are y'all doing?
Born to be wildin' tonight.
Yeah, doing great.
Excellent. So, for those of you who may not be familiar with the Born to Be Wild Listener series, we are, of course, a free Wild Hearthstone tournament series with custom deck building restrictions each week. We are, of course, into the playoffs, and our format for the Listener series is the Conquest format. Each week, players must submit 4 decks consisting of separate classes. Classes and deck lists are hidden until after the weekly submission deadline. Once classes and deck lists are revealed, players have an opportunity to review and ban one of their opponent's decks. Ban selections are hidden until both players have submitted their bans, at which point they're revealed. In the Conquest format, when a player wins with a deck, that player then must move on to a different deck. The losing player may switch decks if they want to, but they're not required to do so. The victor, of course, is the first player to win games with all 3 of their decks. This week, week 6, the quarterfinals, is called the Lich King Awakened. We have our very own Goliath the Dwarf to read us off some lore for this week.
After a long stage of hibernation, with the personalities of Arthas and Ner'Zhul warring over the Lich King's body, the fallen prince prevailed and took complete control. Awakening at last, the Lich King began his invasion of Azeroth, provoking the Alliance and Horde with attacks from the Scourge to lure them to Northrend, where he planned to kill and resurrect them as his eternal champions.
Thank you, Goliath. So we are going to kick it over to listen to our deck building challenges for this week.
All right, so primary challenge. Each deck must contain the same number of minions and spells. Hero cards and weapons can be included. Secondary challenge. Each deck must contain at least 15 cards from Year of the Dragon. Death Knight decks must contain at least, it says 6, but I believe it was 8.
Yeah.
Each player must bring a Death Knight deck. It cannot be banned. The 3 decks are determined by the type of Death Knight deck brought based on the majority of runes used. Both of our players here picking Frost and Rogue, Shaman, Scourge, Grows. Each deck must contain at least 9 undead minions.
All right. Thank you, Doc. And we're going to then get into the decks that each player has brought, starting with Stazari.
Sure, so Stazari's Rogue was banned. He brought a Galakron Rogue, but we're going to focus on his other 3 unbanned lists. He's brought like a Galakron Shaman that looks very board floody. It does have some fun cards like Jive Insect. It's basically looking for a Shadow Suffusion payoff. Shadow Suffusion reads, give your minions Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. So I think he's looking to board flood here, and then once he's board flood, he's looking to capitalize with some Storm's Wrath and Shadow Suffusion to kind of take advantage of that board flood and finish from there. Frost Death Knight looks pretty standard. Going kind of with an interesting call, doing 2 Remorseless Winters and only 1 Marrow Manipulator, but again, that's probably a function of just trying to fit spells for the challenge. As well as, he's got an Archmage Vargoth in here, which is actually, I find kind of interesting. It's going to get value off of Defrost. It's going to get value off of Howling Blast, which only targets enemies. So interesting to see how that pans out. And his druid is like an aggro druid, pretty much top to bottom, except for the very top where you got a couple Winged Guardians and a Ysera Unleashed. for a little added value. But other than that, I see some cards that I like. I like Wing Commander Mulvric. I like Lingering Zombie. I like Crypt Lord, which can kind of set up a big beefy taunt that you can set a wide board behind in a slow format like this for an Arbor up to finish. So those look pretty good. Three lists that look pretty competitive.
I'm always a fan when we get to watch an aggro druid. Can't wait.
Yeah, your personal favorite, right?
Absolutely. So moving over to WaluigiThyme's decks as well.
Sure. WaluigiThyme had brought a control shaman with infinite board clears that got banned. Understandably so, looking at Staz's sort of more board-based decks. And so he's brought a Frost Death Knight deck, this one running 2 Marrow Manipulators, which looks like a little bit more of what you might see in a standard deck, and a Vulpera Scoundrel, which I think is a really smart inclusion on his part because the Death Knight Discover pool, spells-wise, is so attractive. We got
found that out the hard way.
Yeah, poor Hydra. Doc scammed Hydra earlier with a Frost Death Knight and got some interesting spells off of Vulpera Scoundrel. How many Frostworm's Furies did you discover?
3 plus the 2 I ran. So I had 5.
That's more than 2.
Okay. 4, yeah, that's more than 2, but that's the kind of thing that Vulpera Scoundrel can come up with for you. The Galakron Rogue just generate a bunch of value. There's a potion package in here, but the cards that I think are most interesting to me are the Waxmancy and yes, the single copy of Wagglepick. There's not a ton of mana cheat in this deck, so I'm interested to see how easily Time sort of goes through and manages his mana and his hand space, and if that gets clogged, and if he finds himself maybe drawing too many cards or burning a lot of cards. So that'll be interesting to see. But obviously a ton of scam built into the list. And Doc, I know you're a big fan of Galakron Rogue. How did it play this week?
It played well. I think I kind of high rolled and I drew a low rolled that game. So it ended with a Crocs step and then dropping Crocs the next turn. I think on 8 or 9. It did the Galakron things.
It did the Galakron things, right? And like you can come up with a lot of answers and generate a lot of value very quickly, which is why when I'm like saying, hand space, I'm sort of rigging my hands. Sometimes it doesn't matter because like you almost have infinite value. And then his druid looks like your typical like Twig Sphere druid, looking to do Bran into Anub into second stage Astalor, drop a couple Astalors, GG, well played. And this just has some additional, on-theme cards like Rising Wind to draw a little quicker, Dreamway Guardians and Mermy to kind of run as interference in the early game. But really at the heart of this thing is your Twig Sphere Anub combo. I will take note though that he is running both Wildheart Guff and Malfurion the Pestilent in this deck. So he's looking to like throw up, maybe not necessarily because heroes provided a little bit of flexibility as far as the ratio of minions to spells. Maybe he's in there for that, but like Malfurion's almost go ahead.
Yeah, not quite. His deck is better than mine. Because I actually had to drop the instrument text because I just couldn't figure out how to get them in. But to run Twig Sphere and Guff, you have to run either one more hero or one more weapon. And if you really want the Twig Sphere draw off the instrument tech, you don't want run another weapon. So you have to run Malfurion. I ended up running Tamarine and not running the instrument text. And I still, because I was drawing out of my mind last night, still had like Guff Twig Sphere by like 7. So it was fine.
So that worked out, yeah. But I mean, Malfurion, it was so good for so long and wild. Like you could see it being fine in a limited format like this, as far as just like, hey, let me throw this up as a spreading plague real quick. Hopefully, you do it before Guff and not after Guff. But like even if it's after Guff, good card, not necessarily the worst thing in the world to be forced to play. Especially
and if it's after Guff, you still keep the 20 mana. So
with that being a battle cry, exactly.
100%. So. 6 good decks. Let's roll.
Excellent. So we have notified our players that they are ready to get in game. We'll be getting that way shortly. So without further ado, we will jump into the match proper. I say without further ado, with very slightly further ado.
Any predictions on
Only
who
on
opens
Blue
with
with you.
what deck? What do we think?
I mean, I thought cue the Death Knight first because it's got the strongest cards in it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I could see a
Death Knight
druid
Mirror.
by WaluigiThyme
Yeah.
as well, but Death Knight Mirror, Doc called it.
Nice.
There's a reason why Doc made it to playoffs, and I did not.
Is Construct Quarter good enough to keep here still, you think?
Kind of tough to say. Perhaps with the Fellwing. Probably not, though.
Or is it a full toss from Stas? Did
The
you
other
guys bug
issue
out?
with the Construct Quarter is you don't have as much stuff in these decks that you want to kill. If there are no
Right.
eggs,
That makes sense.
Temple Berserker, you don't mind killing off. But I actually tried to build a 2 Frost, 1 Blood deck. And it just like there was nothing in that deck that I wanted to kill off. So the location was bad, and then it wasn't worth it for the no money.
Yeah, so Stas electing to keep that Frenzied Fellwing, which makes sense. You're cheating out a minion early to put on the pressure. Speaking of early minions, Mermy comes down pretty quick.
Ooh, I'm happy if I'm Waluigi to see that Bone Breaker in hand.
Yeah, it's a really key card for controlling everything.
Mm-hmm.
Also, still doing some damage.
Ooh, an extra Thassaran. Thessarian. I always want to call him Tharson Jr.
I also want to call him Thorson Jr. Yeah.
Ooh,
Get
misplay.
Horn?
Not getting the crossworm sphere.
Do you take Horn or Graveyard Shift here? Horn?
Let me
I
take
could see
Horn.
either, right?
I'm just gonna want to cheat stuff out.
I suppose. Like I'm thinking juice and bodies, right? Like you don't mind having the extra corpses and getting bodies down for the tempo.
Juice and bodies, and time chose juice.
Okay. Staz has been in AIM Labs. His Thorson hits the minion so that he can clean it up nice and easy.
Time with a pretty clean board clear self.
Snap pick the Syndragosa.
I was going to say, snap picking the Syndragosa. He's got a plan for it. 8 cards in hand. He's probably coining Fridge next turn, right?
Does he have
So let's see it.
4? Oh, it's it's Frigidar. It's not the army. Yeah, I think you do.
So
what's
Staz,
on the
let's see if
board.
Staz plays into that or Staz plays around that.
So far, playing into a little.
He's got to draw cards too, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have a ton going on in this hand. Maybe keeping the Fell Wing was a little ambitious without a clean way to get it down quickly.
Mm-hmm. But drawing into ways to get it down quickly, and that is a Frostworm's Fury in hand for Staz.
That is a Frostworm's Fury. And Waluigi did not get one off of Fridge, which is probably going to perturb him a bit. He does still have, Might of Menethal to freeze board if he feels like he's getting a little low. It's so funny looking at Frost DK mirrors, right, guys? Because like I think we've played enough of them. It's like there's nothing going on. It's a wet noodle fight for a while, then all of a sudden somebody's dead, and that could very easily happen here with our 2 contestants at 28 and 24.
Staz knows how to roll the RNG.
Yes, Staz getting 2 Frostworm's Furies in hand. One of them generated.
Is this really a board you want a Frostworm? I guess he's going to go for it. He's going to do it.
You get that. You get the Fell Wings down. Fell Wing.
Yeah.
You can start just pushing damage.
It almost feels like Tom knew this was going to happen, right? And just had this game loop in his head when he snap picked that Syndragosa. Like, he just knew. He's like, no, I'm going to have to swing back, and this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that is how you clear the 5/5 from the Frostworms, because everything else on your board is going to be frozen. You have plenty of spells, but this lets you develop tempo while removing theirs.
It was funny because at the time I did not think it was that obvious a choice, and clearly I think he had that idea very, very early on.
Yeah, same. I would have at least had to think about it. You gotta freeze the Syndragosa here.
I think, can he full clear?
Kill it?
He's got a hero power and he's got the Howling Blast in hand, right?
Or you can just hero power and then contract.
Yeah, hero power into quarters, probably the line I would take.
And just punch the Cindy and just be done with it. Looks like he wants to do something a little different.
You're gonna go hero power and then no.
He's leaving the Cindy up.
Yeah, he does know that he's got time on a bit of a clock. So maybe he's just going full on with the burn plan there.
Freezing face.
Ooh.
Yeah. That
Punish for
Frostworm's Fury. Yeah.
But now he does know that he has a Frostworm's Fury in hand. He did draw his 1 manipulator.
That manipulator.
This is not over, folks.
So
this is what I'm talking about, though, right? Like, these matches come down to, depending on where, I'm assuming the manipulator comes down or the Fury comes down. One of the two. Probably the Fury.
Yeah, probably the Fury, so that he can have the sustain, the freeze on
probably
board.
He might actually be able to discover lethal. He's got 5 in hand on with the weapon. He's got.
So Time has the Bonebreaker weapon, has the Glacial Advance, has the Howling Blast. Unless Stazari can find lethal here, I think Time's got this.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, the Glacial Advance. I was thinking that was a trust, right?
And Time takes game 1, the Death Knight Mirror. 1 down, 2 to go for Time, with Druid and Rogue remaining. Stazari has access to all 3 of his remaining decks. So if you are Time right now, I think you're probably imagining that Stazari is going to re-queue up the Death Knight. What do you want to play into that Frost DK to try and...
I think the Druid.
You'd go Druid? I would think maybe... I don't know how proactive the Rogue plays. Whatever deck I think is going to be...
proactive.
Whatever deck I think is going to be most proactive, because like it's not like you're gaining a lot of armor with the Druid, right?
Yeah, I think I had more armor in my build. I had the 6/6 Ruther.
Whoa,
this is double instrument tech.
Brutal.
And a 1-drop on top of it.
Yeah, right. Like, so he's got board presence on top of it too to just run a little shade. Gross. Now he does need something to do with the mana, and there's an overflow as soon as I open my big mouth.
Maybe
Ask and you
Heal
shall
himself.
receive. Oh,
Well,
might have just brought
classic.
naturally. It's a misplay there by time. He's got a dead instrument tech in his hand.
He's trying to take as little damage as possible with these trades, even though he is losing a little bit of board. Respecting the fact that the Frost DK can go over the top and kind of get out of hand pretty quickly.
as was quite evident in the mirror match last game.
Yeah.
On full display. All right, Twig on 4.
Get the
Clear.
shock of no one.
Yeah, clear
So
off
he's really
that.
good Hedgehog Golf.
Yes.
Do you get like super saucy and tempo the brand here into the, probably not, right? There's no payoff for it. So
No, yeah. You know,
you drop the instrument tech, like you want to be efficient with your mana, right?
Mhm.
Instrument
yeah,
tech, hero power, swing face, sphere, or swing whatever,
If there's a minion on
Staz
board.
puts down.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
It's
Staz
turn
has a
4.
lot of spells in that hand.
Yeah, and not a lot of stuff, right? Like not a lot of board presence, which is you'd want him on Staz's end. Ideally he'd have all his minions and he'd be flooding and he'd be pinging face and he'd be putting, Luigi on the clock, and it's tough for him right now.
Yeah, getting that
The
early.
big difference between this and the sort of the normal Quaid version of Frost DK is that you have to run more spells, and then that's what you were doing initially in Frost DK, and people realized, it's just run the eggs and run a bunch of minions, a bunch of the early game. We don't
I like
all
the
those
spell
spells, just run the
version.
good spells. And now you have too many spells.
Ooh, Rising Winds for additional draw.
This scale of Onyxia is just brutal in this deck, isn't it? Especially this week. I could see this really cleaning up.
Well, and even before that, WaluigiThyme has board already. So Staz is kind of on the back foot right here.
Yeah, I think from Staz, then you just want to clean up the board and let yourself start pushing damage.
Trying to generate another Fury. Doesn't find it. Does find a Rhyme Fang Sword.
Interesting. I guess in his mind, he's trying to make his hand more playable. I kind of don't blame him. But like very quickly, like everybody's a gangster until they get Bran Astalord for like 58 or whatever it is. So like
He's digging for Guff.
he's looking for
There
Guff
it
and
is.
found Guff. Like this, he gets a noob.
Yeah, you just wrap here and
It's just GG's.
he gets 2 Guffs.
Okay.
Another Guff.
Another Guff. Yeah.
Yes, Stazari drawing that one of Marrow Manipulator once more. Playing it for 4 Corpse Burst.
He needs the body. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
He needs the body.
And further discounting that defrost down to 0.
Are we going to make friends again? Let's make friends again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's...
Oh,
Yeah,
I
hero
always
power
forget to
first.
do that. I always forget to do that. You hero power first, then you play the Guff. Then you get another
That was-
hero power if you
When
want it.
when you got the Mana Crystal build with Guff, pre-nerf Guff, the number of turns I forgot to hero power first, and then ended the turn on 1 mana left.
Oh, yeah, same.
Lost my
Same.
round.
Everyone. I think everyone did that at least once.
Yeah, the nerf was really just a feels good nerf more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
It was just
I mean,
saving our
Guff just
egos.
wants you to feel good.
Exactly. All right.
Spell wings.
Stazari able to draw, deal with the first half of the Kartut Defender. I imagine we'll see the hero power come down to deal with the second half.
He's going
this is just
slappy.
starting to look a little bit too slow for Staz.
Yeah.
At this point, you want to be really piling on the damage. Waluigi sitting there probably pretty happy. So this combo in here.
Yeah, it's just... And Stazari. Oh!
There it is.
That's just combo. Right there.
This combo has been brutal in the listener series. This has been like so easy to just sort of slot in and just go.
Yeah. I mean,
As
it's a
somebody
3-card
who's used
combo.
it. Oh yeah, I mean, and look how powerful it is, right?
Yeah, I was telling Hydra after we get like, I hate dying to it, so I never play it. Because you kept doing aggro druid. So the first time I played it was last night against Hydra. I was like, sorry, dude. I'm sorry. This is gross.
Well, Druid being able to run aquatic form, only having 28 essentially cards in the deck, with 2 of them being scry from the bottom of your deck, just makes it so much more consistent to only find those literally just 3 cards.
Yeah, I didn't have aquatic form in mind. I definitely should have. I think I ran a Nourish or something. I don't know. Something that could have been better.
All right, Stas thinks that he can get there with his aggro druid into the Gala Rogue, which might be the case. I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the hardest thing, was the really hard aggro with Galacon Rogue. One of the tougher matchups at the time was like a pretty quick face hunter. And if you didn't have your clears early and your board presence early, then you could just fall way behind and be dead.
Stas has an Arbor up too, which I think is a little spooky for Waluigi can't see, but I think that's going to be a little spooky. That he's got, Waluigi's got to assume that he has it the whole time. And this time Stas actually has it.
Gosh, and 2 really sticky 1-drops to just flood the board here. Really like the position that Stazari's in this game.
Say, Sheep, you could probably walk us through the play-by-play on Stas' position in your sleep, right?
Yeah,
I think I probably would have gone a face there, but that's an interesting.
Yeah, it's quite a different build for obvious reasons with the restrictions. No Embiggen, which you shouldn't run Embiggen in a half and half deck like we have here. So
yeah, it was the right year though. It was on the list of things you could put in there.
So what exactly what Stazari's doing now? Going wide, playing sticky minions. He's got that Mermy, got the lingering zombie to just linger as long as he can. And then of course he's got coin into Arbor up. I don't know that I would do it just with 2 minions, so he's probably going to either continue to reflood the board or...
I want to get that composting down if I'm him.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah,
because you could put up the taunt just to stop him from just daggering into my 1/1s. Is what my instinct was.
1-drop composting, I think, is what I would do.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that for draw.
Yeah, I think I'd probably lean towards the Bone Wraith myself, just so that I can dump minions next turn, do exactly what you were saying next turn. Dock with the double 1-drop into composting, maybe even coin out like a...
I was thinking 1-drop Arbor up, like coin Arbor up next turn, right? Like setting up just like, all right, here's my board. You don't have any way to do it. I don't know if I would have made that trade though. I think I would have made him. I think it would have made him trade with me. Got the damage in, but it.
Yes, agreed there.
That zombie was at full health.
Living Roots coin Arbor up is a gross play here. I'd be really surprised if we don't see Stazari essentially snap pick that after doing his slight due diligence to make sure that was the right way.
Yeah. One unfortunate thing for Stazari is that you don't have a really clean way to get through this taunt.
Yeah. Probably the
trade the
cleanest way would have been to trade the first or the second third of the zombie first.
Yeah.
Pretty good discover there.
Oh yeah.
This is a board state that this deck is going to struggle to deal with, though, right? Like this, based on what the challenge is and the resources available to you, this Galakron Rogue does not have a lot of board clears. It's kind of like you get Galakron up and you got Kronks, and that's it. So the wider Staz can go, the more pain he's going to cause.
I think he just does lethal.
Yes, with Blessing of the Ancients being a twin spell, that is all she wrote. Stazari taking the win with the aggro druid.
Yeah, you either need to get all your clears and the rush lackeys, which again, this is where having Evil Miscreant helps a lot to be able to drop that down, have the big butt with your normal standard Galakron Rogue. The other option is to just make something giant early, which could be running red one you can do, but not in Waluigi's list. So I think that
Waluigi into the Galakron Rogue into the Frost Death Knight, I imagine, is probably a little bit monkish for the Rogue. It doesn't like seeing Frost Death Knight. And the Shaman's going to be really interesting. That's going to feel like more of a greed fest. But again, wide boards, right? So like, we could see a reverse sweep. Like I'm picturing it.
This is a pretty good.
Oh yeah,
probably toss back the passage, but keep everything else.
Yeah, seeing the Pharaoh Cat on one, the Alchemist on two.
Invokes, generally,
yeah.
Especially Seal Fate, where you expect and Stats is a lot of 3 health minions that can come down, especially we have the benefit of caster vision. We can see them in his hand.
For Stats, I probably would have kept one. I probably would have kept the Thracian there and tossed everything else. But I mean, keeping the 2 mana spell isn't the worst thing in the world. But I'd be looking for my early game just to flood.
When we see Invincible come down, that's huge.
A reborn minion that I never got off of Pharaoh Cat. That is a very good one. I felt like whenever I tested the deck, I got Living Monument. I got Living Monument so many times, but not Living. The other one, the other 10 mana, 10/10.
The Colossus of the Moon.
That I thought the game was bugged. I had like 2 of them in my hand at once. It was unplayable against the Innkeeper.
Acolyte of Death could get draw. Rhymescale Siren is almost certainly going to have its battle cry active before too long, which could preserve the freezes. So that
always tempting to take Horn of Winter. I might take Acolyte of Death.
These are 3 really good options.
You don't have a lot of undeads right now in your hand.
True.
I think I take the mana cheat. I think I take the Horn of Winter. I think I can always find something with the Horn of Winter. Honestly, this week, looking at the Death Knight lists, nobody really played around. Nobody tried to make the Rivercroc Elemental work, which I find kind of funny. Maybe because it's a bad card. It's a shrimpy card. But, that very much could be the case. Are we coin shark gamers? Do we want to start doing that?
I don't think there's a payoff for it.
You're on Pharaoh Cat, I think.
Yeah.
There's no payoff. I think you just hero power. You just dagger.
I mean, if you are coining Spirit of the Shark, then you're, I guess, shadow stepping the Pharaoh Cat.
He really wants to shoot that cat. It's already died once.
But the kitty.
Again.
I think you just hero power. He's gonna coin Shark? I guess if you coin Shark, no, your Seal Fate still can't hit anything.
How complicated. I know.
Never mind. We're gonna shadow step the cat.
I guess you can actually coin Shark Cat.
Right.
If you wanted to.
Yeah,
I don't think he wants to. I think he's in hand space hell.
yeah. If I'm WaluigiThyme, what I really want to do is to coin out either the Shield of Galakrond next turn, or wait to coin out the Galakrond itself on 6.
I think you Spirit here so that then you can get double invoke off a shield. Or you
Maybe
do not.
slight misplay not attacking with cat first, but like I think he's sick of the cat. he's seen enough of the cat.
So the really good thing about keeping the cat with the attack in the ready is that he could have, if cat lived, pinged off with cat rather than face tanking that 3 damage. So I think it was WaluigiThyme trying to minimize.
Tundra Rhino.
Ooh.
That's a great card with that Winged Guardian. Oh.
Or the
Invincible's also a beast.
Which now if you get to 10 mana, just wait until I have 10 mana. You drop the Winged Guardian, next turn you go Tundra Rhino Invincible or something. Yeah. And you got board.
Well, the Frenzied Fell Wings are demons, so the Fire Breather doesn't affect them, but everything else. I think you just play the 1 mana 4/3.
Yeah. Then have Spirit of the Shark.
So he's got a Lackey in hand and Tog, which you can do on 7.
He could, but it's going to get him 2 dragons, and they tend to be a little heavy, so he might avoid that.
Yeah, you actually kind of want the Spirit to die.
Yeah.
So alternatively, on 7, of course, Galakrond is the best case Ontario.
It'll be the middle step invoke, but that's not terrible.
No.
Staz going for Fridge.
Unfortunately, hasn't found a Frostworm's Fury yet. Yep.
WaluigiThyme, a known lover of the signature cards, by the way.
I concur.
Very vocal supporter.
Ooh,
But
that
I think you
witchy
evolve
lackey.
your shark here. Do you evolve your shark?
I think
you do. Yeah. With hand space issues, you're not really looking for the additional Galakrond draw next turn. You probably still want to play it essentially on curve unless you're dropping the Winged Guardian.
Yeah, I mean, if the lackey lives, I want a Tog.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Staz has been looking at his Death Knight hands, and they have been just so clogged up, right? Like I think his curve might find itself a little bit. He's found his curve a little high, I think, in this series, and he's trying to manage it as best as he can.
Playing the Glacial Advance, going to be able to dump hand here with those Fell Wings. Coined first so that he could play, I'm guessing, Howling Blast on the Shield of Galakrond.
Yeah, and then you can bump the Architect with the 1 and go 5 more space. And while Luigi's at 9, he's going to probably have to play Galakrond just for the armor.
Yeah.
Well, he's got his Winged Guardian helping. Helps a little bit. Soaks up.
Yeah.
Probably 9.
He's still almost on board.
Still almost on board.
He's not quite on
The armor's
board.
not helping him though. Maybe whatever he picks up.
Yeah.
I think that's what you have to hope for.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have
Winged Guardian could help him just sustain. It's safer because rather than relying on top decks.
So he's going to be at 2 after this, though.
Yes.
Against the Death Knight.
He'll be at 1 with the hero power.
No, I'm counting the hero power clearing the second half of Winged Guardian because it has Reborn.
Oh, right.
It's going for a Hail Mary.
Going for the Discovers. Spell Burst. Yeah,
do it.
He needed Yep. So that ties it up. We are going into game 5 with that Death Knight win from Stazari. It's going to be Shaman versus Rogue to decide the winner of this quarterfinal match.
And the Shaman goes wide. I think Staz has the edge here. This Rogue has really struggled against anything that's gone wide against it. You know, it looked like it was going to, there was a moment there where it looked like he was going to bully Staz, and then just kind of lost his momentum.
It all comes down to this. Game 5.
Oh, this is a good starting hand, though, for
Yeah, I'd toss the
I'd say for both
to
players. Look at Staz's hand. He's got one of his wideboard payoffs. He's got an invocation right off the bat. I don't think the face freeze is all that relevant, but I would totally play that as a 1-drop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get you a 2-1 also.
Do you keep the 5? Do you keep the 5-drop?
Yeah.
I think you do, right? Like it's almost full.
That card's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got another one.
It's funny he tossed his Storm's Wrath. I would have kept the Storm's Wrath, personally. He's got a chisel. For chisel. For Rizzle.
Starting the invoke train early.
Meanwhile, if I'm time, I'm probably pretty happy too. I get my a free concoction after this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you get a copy of it if you want it. So the copy doesn't say free.
Correct. And Potion Belt, being able to discover both of these, build your own, draw, love to see it, insta-pick, and some
We were talking
board.
about this. I don't know if draw is necessarily what you always need with this deck.
No, it's not what you always need with this deck. I think it is in this particular situation. Looking at his hand.
I don't disagree. I think it's a good call right now.
Yeah, the general plays for this deck is just tempo.
Yes.
Tempo early, because as long as you don't die, once you start playing free card, there's not a lot that they can do usually. But you got to make it there.
That makes
He's
sense.
got plenty of invokes, though, so he can fully invoke and then find his Galakron. In good shape.
And then follow it up with a board buff, too.
Good.
All right. Invoke further. That Galakron
Probably
is...
just leave that Seal Fate for next turn, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thessarian again.
Maybe.
Cat's gotten a
Every
lot better.
game is featured a Thessarian.
Well. Stazari coining out the Corrupt Elementalist. We'll see it again next turn. Speaking of some quick invokes.
Probably do the second Corrupt
Take
Elementalist
4
next
damage.
turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would take 4 damage there. You're the beatdown. You're trying to be the beatdown.
I would steal Fate here.
Going for board presence. And he's thinking this is when I can get away with it. Probably the step. What does the coin get you towards?
The coin is actually
not the worst. It's not the worst.
Yeah.
It's easy to dump hand if he's having hand space issues, which you could.
You can also shadow a second coin.
Staz is one of his payoffs in hand, that 3-mana spell.
He also has Galakron in hand.
Mm-hmm.
He also has Galakron.
Which, after the Corrupt Elementalist, we anticipate this turn is going to be fully invoked.
There we go.
Now, do you remember to bump the 1/1 before the 3/1?
To pump the lackey first.
Bump the lackey first. Aw.
He never punished.
Not punished.
Never punished. He's not going to bump the lackey at all? That's just inviting Tog on 6. Yeah, no, you got to clear the lackey. If he draws Tog.
If he draws Tog.
Well, and it's going into turn 6. We have caster vision, so we know that Tog isn't in hand, but Stazari has no way to know. Leaving a lackey on board going into 6 would be pretty spooky. I agree with that.
It's really hard to hand track a Galakron rogue because there's so much generation too. You're not like if you're not using a deck tracker, it's really hard to figure out what started in there and what didn't. I don't know what his setup is.
The awkward Kronks with Galakram in hand.
I think it's just Thalnos and Hero Power, right?
Yeah, I think so. I might Stormwrath. No, you don't want to Stormwrath. You don't want to.
Don't want to be overloaded.
Yeah. You don't want to. Thalnos is fine.
But next turn,
you're also trying to play around secrets too, trying to figure out what exactly.
He probably thinks it's
cheat death or.
I mean, it was randomly generated. It could be anything. Now he knows.
Now this one could be anything.
Now, do you take explosive? I guess objection doesn't really counter Galakron very well.
I think it's always a Swift scale, right?
You don't have any big spells.
Mossy, because of all the little invokes. I like that.
Yeah, I maybe would have picked the Swift scale just to be able to dump it easier. But as far as actual value, Mossy Horror makes complete sense.
A couple of 8/8s coming down very shortly. I'm not sure what the answer to the 2 8/8s here is.
And then you can layer them with stats and with death rattles, right? Like it's gonna be
what?
Stazari drawing first, I think.
I don't know why you do that, but you can. I think you gotta, on the 5 phase. I guess you attack first in case it's he's playing around freezing trap.
Yeah, he's playing around freezing trap.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That makes
you know what?
complete
Damaging
sense.
the Giants isn't the worst thing either. To play around like a Steel Fate to.
Oh, there's a Galakron fully
On the other
invoked.
side, this can get interesting. Although you're missing some of your big payoff.
Axmancy.
You spirit and then Astalor. I think you're still dead. Actually.
Yeah, he's still staring down 24.
Not only Prince, that doesn't deal 2 damage, right?
Yeah, the 2 damage does not duplicate. So time suffering the end of the reverse sweep by Stazari. Stazari reverse sweeping, claiming victory. Holy moly, that was intense.
Good match.
Great match. And we've got... I thought I had I had everything else in but this one, alas. So Stazari claiming victory, grabbing that crown, winning the reverse sweep. Great game played by both. GG's, y'all. There we go. We can hear you now, Stazari. How are you feeling coming off of that reverse sweep?
Hey, can you hear me right?
Yeah, there you are.
Yes, now we can hear you, yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Apologies for that one. Surprisingly, tech doesn't work well with me.
No worries.
I'm just shaking. Like going into the challenge, I think the others, in the top 8 can agree this is probably the hardest challenge so far this tournament. And when the decks were revealed, I felt so sick. Waluigi, he outbuilt me. His decks were incredible, especially his Shaman. Which is why I chose to ban it over a Druid. So to get the reverse sweep, I'm ecstatic. I was not expecting, that's for sure.
Absolutely. How did you approach this week? I know you said it was the hardest one so far. How did you approach this week to end at the lineup that won you the series?
It was tricky. Like I just sort of filled around with a few of the classes. I spoke to a bit with Hydra and Diarist who helped give me a bit of feedback. So shout out to them for helping out. But it was like, I could build 2 out of the 3 classes for all 3 of the sets. And so I think it was Diarist just said, I'm just going in on a Shaman. And I was like, okay, I'm doing the same no matter what. Druid, I'm like you, Sheep, aggro Druid forever.
Always.
Tweak nonsense. I'm looking forward to see what the wild meta's like, hopefully next week, depending on what happens with Twig, hey?
Excitement abounds. I can't wait either.
I'd be shocked if something didn't happen, right? And it was funny right around when you queued up, right around when it became apparent. I think maybe turn 4 or 5, and I saw how well the druid was doing into the rogue. I was just like, what if we get a reverse sweep here, because Staz is running a shaman that can flood the board and go wide real far, and the Frost DK, if it gets the right hand, can go wide quickly, and the rogue really can't handle it. Like, when did you start feeling like you could start doing a reverse sweep? Like, when did you start feeling the momentum?
I'll be honest with you. It was in game 5 when I drew Galakron. I did about a dozen test matches with that shaman, and never once I drew the Galakron, and I was sitting at like a 33% win rate. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is it. This is the light at the end of the tunnel. It's been a slog, but I think I can do this. And every turn, as you saw, I just kept clearing off the lackeys, because I'm like, he's going to play... what's his name? Heist Baron, Togwaggle. He's going to get something ridiculous. And when he did the secret passage into Galakron, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is where he's going to turn it around. But yeah, I guess I was a non-believer until the last moment, to be honest.
Wow.
But it paid off in the end, and yeah, was some good draws there. The druid, I as I said, I love my aggro druid. Getting that arbor up early was really nice. Just wanted to sort of make sure his board was clear so I can just go wide and big, and it paid off, thankfully.
Yeah, that queue, whenever you knew you had isolated the rogue, that was the quickest queue of the entire match. And I could definitely tell why. Like that was, you had isolated the one class that you knew, like from my perspective, that you knew that you were just going to get that real quick game win right there. Is that kind of how you felt going into that one?
Yeah, pretty much spot on. I mean, you couldn't ban the Death Knight, and I thought both the Shaman and the Druid, those were just ridiculously strong. So let me just bring my strongest class and hopefully get a win against them. Obviously, that didn't go to plan, so I knew the Rogue was coming up, and that was his weakest one. I'm like, I've managed to get some turn 4 and turn 5 lethals with the Druid, and I felt with the Rogue, he didn't really get online until about turn 6 to 8. So I was like, I'll try to get under him, get him quick, and I'm pulling up the replay. It says it was only a 4-minute match, so it felt a lot longer though, trust me.
Yeah. Felt longer casting it, because we're kind of like, we're playing every card with you. And
you guys have the vision, you know what he's got, what I've got, but there's so many times where I'm like, do I hold this, just in case, or do I just go all in? But the secrets, oh man, do I hate secrets.
Were you playing against Freezing Trap in that game 5 where you did that? You bumped a minion into okay.
Yeah, I used the Thalnos because I thought it might be a Freezing Trap, or there's another one. I think Misdirection, is it? I'm having a mind blank.
Okay.
But I just thought I didn't want to put Galakron down and then summon one of my big dudes for it to get bounced back, So I was like, throw the Thanos. Might even give me a good draw, who knows, and go from there. So
smart. Yeah.
It was, I know I misplayed that one a little bit. I remember I played the Elementalist. I whacked into the Thesari, and I'm screaming, not my elemental, because I realized it could have killed that and left the Lackey out, and then he had Waggle in hand and turn it all back, Actually, and my mechanics wise, I apologize. I did not realize Syndragosa is when something gets frozen, it gets destroyed. I thought it's when it gets frozen, it's like even a single damage would destroy it. So that was a massive misplay leaving that one up. I think it was in game 1.
Oh, I thought it was just. I thought you just were. I thought you were just being cavalier. I thought you were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill him. We'll leave this thing up. But yeah, no, that Cindy effect is quite something. So yeah, it's the first time you saw that in effect, huh?
Yeah. So something to make sure I remember, just in case if that comes up the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And not a card that you practiced against in your practice matches either. So.
No, you wouldn't have.
Right.
You're not going to see it on ladder too often either, if you play wild.
No, and that's it. Like the few games where I've gone against Death Knight, it's all blood DKs, So Cindy's, and I played at the start of the expansion. Everyone obviously was going Rainbow DK. So Cindy surprised me, that's for sure. But absolutely amazing. And look, to be honest, I feel a bit bad because Waluigi, he easily could have beat me there. I think it was a couple of RNG pulls that really sort of just made the difference in a few of those games. So I could have seen him easily winning all this as well. Yeah.
It was such a close match, coming down to game 5. I mean, you knew what to do for game 3. Game 4, obviously, getting the other one that probably had a positive win rate in testing. I'm assuming, especially now knowing that your Shaman in testing had like, I think you said a 33% win rate. So isolating as much as you could down to playing to your outs for that game 5. Super close match, really incredibly queued. Congratulations. That was an incredible read and an incredible execution.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm glad how it played out, and now I've got to start preparing. I believe I'm against NHL next, number 1 seed. So I guess if I can beat him, I can win the whole thing.
Dude, you're in the money. You're guaranteed at least 15 packs?
Oh shoot, you're right. Oh my god.
Yeah, you're in the money, dude. So it's all gravy from here. So heck yeah, let it loose. Get ready to take down Marty. I think you're looking very, the 2 times we've been casting you now, you dumpstered me and you got the reverse sweep here. So I think you might have a little bit of a contestant of destiny going on here. I'd ride the momentum and then take the whole thing home, man.
I'll go 110%. That's for sure. All right. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up here? Anyone you'd like to thank? All that good stuff.
I mean, just purely my wife for letting me play this game. She's not a big fan of Hearthstone, but she goes, okay, you can play these matches, and she takes the kids away so I can focus 110%. So I have to thank her for that.
Absolutely OP there. Look, again, congratulations, and can't wait to see Player of Destiny go through. Schmoopy's called his shot right now.
Well done, Stas.
Thanks.
Congratulations and well played. And that will do it from us here at Born to be Wild. Congratulations again, and we will see you around the hearth.
Born to be wild.